A tepid close to a lackluster week on Dalal Street. The Sensex and Nifty ended with minor losses on Friday, but posted marginal gains for the week. The mid-cap index ended higher for the fourth straight week. Hello and welcome to Editors Roundtable. We saw an IPO frenzy this week. More on that coming up. We also do a deep dive into the Tata Group companies which hit two important milestones this week. We'll also take a look at the government's progress in divestment so far and what we can expect going forward. I am Reema Tendulkar, with me Prashant, Nimesh and Nigel, and we also have Mihir Vora, Chief Investment Officer at Trust Mutual Fund. Boys, men?
You look that side and said boy, you look this side and said men. What's the...
Well, I'm not saying.
Was it deliberate or...
Just deliberate. I wanted to say gentlemen and then boys and men came out.
Well, you know, the action in the market, it became slower and slower, right? Towards the end of the week. Thursday, I think, 3 points or so in the Nifty? And Friday, I didn't see the final averaged out close, but it was 1-2 point or so. So nothing.
Absolutely nothing, and I think it's all thanks to the fact that US markets were shut on Thursday.
Yeah.
Today they'll be ending early, and the Indian markets have a holiday on Friday.
Yes.
I mean next Monday.
So
Next Monday.
contained for us.
Volumes as well for institutional participation was lower in this week, and in fact I think the only action was stock specific. Otherwise on the headline index, institutional activity I think was 15% lower than what we have seen in the other weeks as well. So good times.
You know, but the good part is directionally at least markets were higher. The Nifty and the mid-cap index, ended higher for the week. The Nifty was up about 0.3%. The mid-cap index was higher by about 0.5%. So the momentum was lacking. We didn't see big moves, but at least the markets continue to climb higher and higher. A little bit, but at least it did, directionally.
I mean, so far, it's been up, right? It's not been down. October, we had a bit of a down, but we're up from those levels quite a bit. So what I've wanted to do is just set it up with two parts. One is global and the other is local. I'll start with global. Globally, things are looking very sanguine, very nice, right? Because this is the end of the year. Seasonally, it's a strong time for markets. I think 80% of the time, going back 20-25 years, markets generally trend up. I mean, 3-4%, but they're up, they're not down. So you've got that kind of tailwind coming through. I think globally, and this happened right after the last Fed meeting, the narrative has completely shifted. You know, even or a month back, markets were still talking about the next hike, higher for longer, all of that. Nobody's talking about any of that. People are not talking about how much Fed will cut in 2024 and the fact that the big global hiking cycle is now behind. And I think that is what the expectation is, that, that will help equity markets globally. Yields have settled at a lower, more narrower kind of tighter range. So, I mean, no real big problem. The next big shift, I mean, if you read what a lot of people are writing and talking about, whenever that happens, the next big shift in narrative will happen when data in the US starts to weaken materially. Because right now, it's all goody-good. It's soft landing, no hard landing, no recession. But at some point, we don't know when, data in the US will start to weaken and then the narrative will flip again. It'll be an environment which will be good for bonds, bad for stocks, but that's not right now. Locally here, again, nothing to really complain about. Earnings season is behind us. But the market is also, as you said, Reema, lost momentum a little bit. And Bank Nifty has been the real problem for some time now. So without Bank Nifty participating, I don't know if the Nifty can participate. The next big trigger, which may actually get us out of this very ranged activity, is elections. So same time next week, Friday, we'll be talking about the election verdict on Sunday. That's the 3rd of December. 5 states went to elections. I think not just the number in terms of whether it is 3-1, 4-1, 3-2, whatever, but the quantum of the win or the loss will also make a lot of difference, especially actually in Hindi heartland states like Madhya Pradesh. So I think that'll be the next big event. Anyway, Monday is a holiday, so it's 4 days of trade and then, of course, waiting for that big election outcome.
So Jeffries, in their note today, said their initial feedback on the ground is that maybe the BJP will fare better than what the market is expecting.
Yes.
And if that takes place, maybe the markets could see a pop or a bit of a bounce after 3rd of December.
Yeah. And in fact, that's the reason why they added, right? They have added back the cash levels what they had raised. Yes. And now they're quite confident about, the global markets turning positive. India macros have been good. And if state election comes out to be better, I think there could be a bit of gush of liquidity as well from the global FI. So I think that's something which only we'll get to know next week when the election outcome comes. But I was just looking at from a dealing room perspective and from the market perspective. At the index level, we may look very flat, but the fact that there was so much of interest in the broader markets, one barometer for me is I didn't struggle for deal sheet charter. That shows that there was a lot of buzz and a lot of stocks to talk about. So a lot of action in the broader markets. Look at today, what happened to the insurance PSU companies, right? All were hit like 18-20% up, low volume stocks, but at least low float stock, but there was a lot of interest as well. So that momentum continues, and looks like the leadership mental is clearly with the PSUs. Every week we'll talk about either an oil PSU or a bank PSU or a insurance PSU doing good. So that momentum is likely to continue is the overall feedback. I think the other trend was this week the focus and money clearly shifted to the primary market. 5 large IPOs, everyone got subscribed 50, 60, 70 times. So clearly the focus was from the retail investors as well, was largely towards the IPOs. I'll talk about the IPO overall as well for 23. Prashant, you rightly spoke about the election outcomes, and that will be a big trigger to watch out for. Nobody knows right now as to how they'll pan out, but from a trigger, again, that's one big trigger. But the other interesting trend is the supply from the large institutions, the private equity investors, the strategic investors have started, and that is likely to continue. We spoke about Paytm, large block got executed today. So looks like there are more in the pipeline. I guess Mihir is going to participate in some of them, but we'll ask him about that. But broadly, that's been the trend that that momentum has again started. So supply of paper is there, IPOs are buzzing, and there is a lot of interest in the broader markets.
Actually, Mihir Vora is with us. Mihir, somebody jokingly was telling me earlier that if you ask 1,000 companies, 500 companies, whatever, would you like to do a QIP right now? And the person I was talking to was saying that 90% would say yes.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Why not? Why not? We're getting money, why not?
Absolutely.
How are markets looking otherwise, Mihir, according to you?
See, I think there is intense retail participation.
Yeah.
I think even the SEBI chairperson did mention something about a lot of speculation on the retail side. So I don't think the kind of stocks that are moving, especially in the last 1 month or so, are usually institutional stocks. So you are seeing a lot of action in a lot of stocks, but now I think we are going down the market cap curve, and it's more in the hand of retail, I would say, than institutions.
And lower the market cap curve is where the excitement is, right?
Yeah.
But does that worry you?
It's more like instant gratification.
But does that worry you?
It does. It does show that there's more froth building up in the small cap, the micro cap. So maybe time to be cautious.
We'll come back to that space in just a bit. But from micro and small caps, let's talk about large caps, right? Let's talk about, and it doesn't get much bigger than the Tatas. And it was a pretty important week, Reema. Tata Technologies, the second tech company listed.
Yeah.
Not listed, but the IPO closed and very strong subscription numbers. And Titan, 3 lakh crores of market cap.
Absolutely. So here I'm going to talk about the Tata Group companies because as Prashant said, there were 2 key milestones hit by the Tata Group this week itself. So first, just an overview. There are about 17 large Tata Group companies. Here I'm not talking about the TTML, which is also listed, but I'm talking about the bigger companies, the TCSs, Tata Steel, Tata Motors, Titan. And together, these 17 companies have a market capitalization of 25 lakh crore rupees. Now, the 2 big milestones that I spoke about. One is the Tata Tech IPO opened this week. And what frenzy, what demand. In fact, it got fully subscribed in less than 2 hours of opening. This is the first IPO from the Tata Group in close to about 2 decades. Its market capitalization will be about 20,000 crore rupees. And what makes it very exciting is the valuation. It's being offered at a valuation of 32 times trailing PE, FY23 PE, which is at a discount to listed peers like say even a Tata LXC or a KPIT Technology or a L&T Technology. Also, another factor which has led to such high demand is it's a small issue, just about 3,042 crore rupees. And now everyone's talking about a bumper listing for Tata Technology. But the second important milestone is Titan. Now, while most of the Tata Group companies have done well over the last 10 years, 2 decades, but look at the journey of Titan. In 2003, exactly 20 years back, the share price was about 5 rupees, went to 44 rupees, and this week it hit a lifetime high of 3,400 rupees per share, crossing the market capitalization level of 3 lakh crore rupees. In fact, over a 20-year period, Titan has been the best performing Tata Group stock. Look at the CAGR returns of Titan versus the other peers. Titan has given you a 38% CAGR over a 20-year period, beating a Tata LXC, which is at 30%, and Trent, which is at 27%. But that's over a 20-year period. If you zoom in a little bit and look at it from a 5 or a 10-year period, the best performing Tata Group stocks have been Tata LXC, and the other one has been Trent. So both these two have given solid returns over the last 5 and 10 years, but the one which is shined the brightest, been glistening, has been Titan. Mihir, wanted to get your thoughts on both these two. One, Tata Tech. Now, even if you subscribe, you're not going to get too much by way of allocation, given how strong the subscription is. Would you recommend buying at opening? And what, according to you, would be an attractive level enough to enter? What if it opens at 1,000 rupees, double of the issue price? Then would you recommend subscribing?
Well, I wish I had bought, but since I can't comment on stocks, but the thing is that there is ample, appetite out there for new ideas, and IPOs are a good way of, participating in a new, idea or so. And we saw in the last couple of cases where there was a little bit of excitement, a little bit of upside surprise, and the stocks have moved a lot. So to that extent, I think what is happening in the IPOs is that the free float is not that high. And if in the first few days we see a lot of institutional participation, then the free float gets even more constrained, as the retailers would have gotten out. And that creates the extra bit of valuation upside, I guess.
Guys, I'll tell you a story. My son is 10. And last week actually, he came to me and he said, Papa, do you know what is Trent at? The backstory to this is, about a year ago, I said, since we do stocks all the time, markets all the time, these guys, kids should learn through osmosis. They should pick up something, right, at the margin. I said, why don't you guys research stocks, start reading the newspapers, etc. And a year ago, I just asked them, what do you like? He came back to me within half an hour of that question saying, Trent.
Wow.
And I asked him, I remember, so this conversation came back last week or something. And I remember back then, I said, well, how do you pick it? So he had basically opened some website. And there was a list of stocks, and Trent was the number one. I don't think he knew what he was talking about. I think it was maybe, I don't know what it was. And he said, well, look at... but it also shows you the kind of market we're in, right?
I can hire your son.
Sorry?
I can hire your son.
You're looking for people, right?
Yeah.
I'll send over the resume. He's 10, a little younger, but I think can be groomed. Well, let's talk about more IPOs, right? It's been the week of IPOs. I think 4 IPOs, by the way, closed today, including Tata Tech and a few others as well. But Nimish is going back and looking at this data to add some more perspective in terms of what the year has been like. Nimish.
So, Prashant, it's not about this week. It's been a season of IPOs, and calendar 23 was really a good year as far as the IPOs are concerned. So let me just go to the wall and explain, not only for this week, but for the entire year 2023. In fact, this week, it's been quite frenzy in terms of the IPOs. The 5 IPOs is getting launched. IRDA was the first one. That got closed on Thursday with a subscription of nearly 40 times. The other 4 are closing today, which is on Friday. Tata Technologies, Gandhar Oil, Fedfina, and Fair Writings. All are closing on Friday. As of 4 p.m. on Friday, the Tata Technology IPO got subscribed nearly 70 times. Gandhar Oil got subscribed nearly 65 times. I think the number needs to change here. And Fair Writings got subscribed nearly 50 times. So that's the kind of subscription we've seen for these IPOs. Now, it's not going to end here. What I understand from bankers, December is going to be equally strong as far as the IPO pipeline is concerned. 7 to 8 big IPOs are lined up in the month of December. The community is going to raise close to 8 to 10,000 crores. Some important names within the list includes the likes of EPAC, the Park Hotel, that's going to come with an IPO soon, Dooms, and Jana Finance Bank. These are a few 4 names where the IPOs are likely to hit the market in the month of December. Now look at what has happened in the calendar year CY23 so far. As of today, nearly 46 companies have hit the market and they've cumulatively raised nearly 41,000 crores. So that's a big amount of money. But of course, largely most of them is through the OFS. But nearly 41,000 crore is already got raised through the IPO market. Now, look at the big performers of this calendar year. In terms of the biggest gainers since the listing price, Cyan DM stands out with a gain of nearly 142% from the issue price. Similarly, Senco Gold up almost 130% from the issue price. EMS is the third name which is up nearly 130%. Vishnu Prakash is up nearly 114%. and Plaza Wire is up, is almost double since the listing. So these are the big gainers as far as IPOs are concerned. Some losers as well. I'll just read out those names. Uptrade Services is the first one, down 10 odd %. Even Yatra Online is down 10 odd % since the issue price, and IRM Energy is the other one, which is down nearly 8 odd % from the issue price. So these were some losers as well. But now look at the list of some big subscribers. The issue which got maximum subscriptions. Plaza Wire stands out. The issue got subscribed nearly 114 times. Look at SF Small Finance Bank. That got subscribed nearly 77 times. Aeroflix, a small company, that got subscribed nearly 70 times. And someone like a New Tech Web got subscribed nearly 63 times. Of course, the likes of Tata Technologies will get added to this list, but looks like calendar year 23 was a good year for as far as IPOs are concerned. 41,000 crore is already raised, and I believe from bankers, nearly another 10,000 crores is lined up in the month of December.
Mihir, any thoughts on any of these names, what Nimish presented?
I mean,
you don't want to talk about names, but the trend's been strong.
Trend's been strong, but the numbers are still not very large, frankly. If you look at the 90s and the 2000s, as a percentage of market cap, the quantum of IPOs is still too small. So I don't think we should be worried too much about supply, frankly speaking.
Over a period of time, I mean, just a ballpark guess, right? Say if 100 IPOs have come, how many have come, Nimish, in the last 1 year?
In this year, calendar year, this is today we are ending with 47 IPOs. So we'll of course cross 50 for sure by the end of December.
So say 50 IPOs. So 5 years out, how many ballpark? I mean, how many would be above in the green? How many would be below water? How many would be around? Any guesses? I mean, you've seen this cycle play out. I mean,
yes.
In bull markets, the rush is there. It's not as high as the 90s.
Yes.
But still, 5 years out, I mean, any guesses?
My guess is the strike rate would be higher than in the past.
Okay.
Because this time around, it's not in one particular sector or group of stocks. If you look at the 2007, 8, 9 frenzy, it was mostly infra, power, those kind of names, in some of the construction, etc. But this time around, it's across sectors. So I don't see a sectoral mini bubble building up so far.
Got it.
Mihir, hold that thought. We need to slip into a very short break. On the other side, we'll do a deep dive into the government's progress on divestment so far. What can we expect going forward? We'll tell you after this short break.
Welcome back. Well, let's focus on the government's divestment plan. And as of now, they seem to be lagging a little bit. We've still got close to around 4 months for this fiscal itself. But just to put up the numbers then on your screen, up till now, they've done only around 8,000 crores approximately. And the target for this year was set at around 51,000 crores at this year's budget. Remember, in the past, only in FY19, that's the year that they actually achieved what they had set out to do. And that was because of the Bharat 22 as well as the CPA-SC, which contributed bulk of that 84,000 crores odd that they did raise. What have they raised so far? Well, they've raised 8,000 crores. Bulk of it has come in from Coal India. You've got a small share coming in from HUDCO, RVNL, as well as SJVN. But Coal India was bulk of that 8,000 crores approximately that they have raised. Now, the problem was that there were two assets that they were counting on, and both of them didn't come through. So IDBI Bank, well, the process to appoint the valuer with regard to this divestment, that's been withdrawn. And now, in all probability, it will be a story of FY25. The government, remember, they hold close to around 45% stake in there. You have LIC as well that holds a large chunk of around 49% odd. And the current value of that 45% will be close to around 30,000 crores approximately. But that's, taken a pause as of now, and the street is not optimistic about that going through. The other one was the NMDC steel plant. For years, I've been hearing about this plant going to be commissioned. It's actually commissioned. They were factoring in that they'll sell close to around 50.8% stake in the company, and they'll raise close to around 11,000 crores. They're invested close to around 25,000 crores. So at 100%, it would be valued at around 22,000 crores approximately. But because of the Chhattisgarh state elections, that as well has hit a bit of a roadblock, and we'll have to see post the election whether or not that comes through, because that's a good 11,000 crores that they can get for that asset. And there were plenty of bidders as well in there. Tata Steel, JSW Steel, other steel conglomerates as well were looking at it. Now, what are the options they have on the table? Hindustan Zinc, the government owns close to around 30% stake in the company. The value as of now is around 35,000 crores approximately. Now, maybe in fact, Vedanta Group has been interested in this asset, but some reports indicate that maybe they'll go ahead and they'll sell close to around 5% in the company. If that's the case, they could raise close to around $1 billion at current market price. So let's see whether or not they do that. The other option is LIC. It's suddenly come to life, and the total market capitalization is more than 4 lakh crore. Remember, the IPO was done at a price of more than 900 rupees. And even after the rally we saw at the end of the week, the stock is still 29% away from its IPO price. But if they even manage to sell a couple of percentage points, well, that could raise more than $1 billion odd, because 1% will be 4,000 crores. And could they turn to Coal India? There's plenty of demand in there for Coal India. They've already sold close to 1.5% stake. But going by the demand, going by the valuations and the outlook for Coal India as well, they could easily garner a couple of thousand crores if they go ahead and they bite the bullet. So let's see how things go from now. But as of now, they're lagging with regard to the divestment target of around 51,000 crores odd. Dam Capital, they said there's a possibility that they go ahead and they miss this target. But they're saying they're factoring in roughly around 20 to 25,000 crores odd. If that is the case, well, there'll be a bit of a slip on the fiscal fiscal deficit target of around 5.9% by around 10 basis points. So we'll have to see how this flows out. But as of now, it appears they're a little behind the curve. Mihir, I wanted your take on this. We also have state elections, and getting into an election year, we could see some kind of subsidy, some kind of freebies as well that are doled out, which could put a bit of a problem and some pressure on the fiscal deficit. But you have dividends that have made up for that. So how do you see this pan out?
So I think being an election year, state as well as central, my guess is that all the cases where there is some strategic divestment involved may be postponed, right? So I don't think they'll take any little bit political sensitive decisions before the election. So those I think we can rule out. But on the other hand, the GST collections are quite robust.
Yeah.
And a 0.1, 0.2 slippage in GST should not be that much of an issue. So I don't think the government is under any time pressure to do this. If they can do it, fine. If it doesn't happen, it won't be a big issue, I guess, from the fiscal point of view.
Yeah.
But given the market conditions and the fact that PSUs have been some of the best performing stocks in this year, even if they wanted to do it, I don't see too much of an issue. It's just a question of the will to do it. And we still have 4 months in the year.
Yeah, indeed. And most of the economists, they are penciling a number of around 6.1, 6.2% approximately.
Exactly.
The government said they'll do 5.9%. So I think pretty much, everyone's prepared for a bit of a slip out there.
Absolutely.
We'll have to see the nominal GDP. Actually, they had forecasted as 10.5%. But I think most are factoring in 8 to 9% also. That'll be the various parts of the puzzle. But as you said, some kind of slippage is being factored in the price as of now.
Absolutely.
It's been a great conversation, Mihir. Thank you very much for joining in. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of Editors Roundtable. Stay with us. More news and updates continues.